Ladies and gentlemen, within 3 minutes, I'm going to explain exactly why there are hundreds of container and cargo ships docked outside ports, not only outside Southern California, but also where 40% of all imports into the United States are docked. I'm going to explain also why there are hundreds of cargo ships outside of China. Number one, something that most people aren't talking about is the fact that it's more lucrative for shipping companies around the world to reroute or redirect their ships towards the United States of America, wherever they are. So you have shipping companies, captains, or corporations of these gigantic cargo and container ships chasing profits that they have every right to chase. But the interesting thing is that it is now, they're making 10 times the revenue sending cargo or shipping cargo to the United States of America, or sending their container ships full of freight and cargo to the United States of America. So I'll read you really quickly. This is an article in freightwaves.com. Ships follow the money. What's happening now is the opposite of what dogged the industry for the past 20 years. 5 years ago, people were asking, how can the Trans-Pacific rate drop from $2,000 to $1,500 per 40-foot equivalent unit? Now they're saying spot rates include premiums that can top $20,000 per 40-foot equivalent unit. They went from a matter of years to $1,500 per FEU to $20,000 per FEU shipping to the United States. So that's part of why there's a backlog, because the demand from ending and stopping the United States economy was so there's such a demand now because we actually allowed our economy to function. From there was a self-induced wound where we pumped in $10 trillion into the economy because experts and authorities said we must end life as we know it. Sweden didn't do that, by the way, and they had better numbers economically in terms of health and everything else. But the Democratic Party, media, and experts, they pushed to end society as we know it, end the United States economy as we know it, for about a year plus. We are now experiencing unprecedented, not just labor shortages, but also supply chain shortages. And part of it is that you have these shipping companies chasing profits, which is understandable. I don't blame the shipping companies. I blame the people who got us into this situation. A stock market crash is going to take place. Unfortunately, we're going to have another financial crisis within the near future. Hit subscribe to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. That'll be below. I had segments on this channel and the Stock Market Crash channel on this issue. We're going to get to more reasons why cargo and container ships are docked outside of ports, not just within outside Long Beach, but throughout the United States of America and also throughout China. And hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. Tell your friends about this channel. I will have a very special live stream at around 11 p.m. or so regarding Kash Patel and the Durham probe. Kash Patel is awesome. He is a hero, and he was at the forefront, along with Devin Nunes, pointing out and revealing all of the nonsense, all of basically Trump getting set up and framed from day one by people at the Bureau, by people at a law firm linked to the Clintons, by Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, all of them. But he's predicting that Strzok and Lisa Page and others, Peter Strzok and others, will get indicted. So I will have a segment on that at 11 p.m. Pacific tonight. But hit subscribe. So in addition to other issues, and Eric and Luke, thank you so very much. Everyone subscribe to Eric H526's gaming channel and also his Odyssey channel. He live streams on Odyssey as well. Luke, thank you so very much. Everybody here, it is a pleasure to see everyone. JG, David, Von Kettering, hello. Everybody here, thank you so very, very much. K-Joe, hello. Paul, hello. Everybody here, hello. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a situation. I want to read you this really quickly. Ships follow the money. A major driver of congestion on both sides of the Pacific Ocean. Landside capacity, terminals, trucking, rail, warehousing is limited, but the vessel capacity of a single ocean trade lane is highly flexible. While the number of ships in the world is finite, operators can shift ships to wherever they make the most money. And the Trans-Pacific is now a particularly lucrative trade. Spot rates including premiums can top $20,000 per 40-foot equivalent unit, FEU. Ebenezer Adams, thank you again, by the way, for the other day for the super chat. To my super chat, I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. So to my super chat, thank you so very, very much. And Ebenezer, I saw your comment on the stock market crash channel, and you're so right. And that's a very interesting point you made regarding the docs and the ID badges. Very interesting. So I'll read you this. Quote, "These ships are super mobile. What's happening now is the opposite of what dogged the industry for the past 20 years. 5 years ago, people were asking, how can the Trans-Pacific rate drop from $2,000 to $1,500 per 40-foot equivalent unit in the space of just 6 days? It's because you can take a vessel from one place and sail it someplace else, and suddenly there were more ships and a price war and rates dropped. Now we're seeing the opposite. As ship operators pile more capacity into the Trans-Pacific, congestion rises, delays mount. The incentive for shippers to pay premiums is supported, and all-in rates remain at record highs." So even with a congestion of ships outside of these docks, the ships are making a great deal of money, a lot more money than ever, because the demand skyrocketed. And that's the issue. The demand skyrocketed because you prevented the economy from functioning. The United States labor force is 160 million people. Okay? They say, look at the numbers, look at the numbers. They never look at the numbers. They never look at the numbers. They never look at the numbers. In August 2021, the civilian labor force amounted to 161.54 million people. We prevented 161 million out of the 320 million Americans, okay, to work. We prevented them from working. The experts said don't work. The experts said you cannot work. Cancer and heart disease ended the lives of more Americans according to government data. Look at the numbers. They never look at the numbers. When they say, whenever you have a morally superior liberal saying, look at the numbers, they never tell you the average age of the person that's experiencing whatever they're trying to pontificate about. The average age of the United States labor force of 161 million Americans is about 42 years old. Okay? Average age of U.S. labor force is 42 years old. Okay? Go look at the numbers for 42-year-olds. Okay? You prevented them from working. Now you have an economy that is not rebounding. We are going to have a massive, epic, biblical stock market crash. It will be the fault entirely of Democrats, Biden, and people like Mitt Romney who just stood idly by doing nothing. This is going to be a catastrophe. We have a financial catastrophe that's awaiting us. And this shipping, the problem with shipping is not getting any better. They are forecasting that this is going to get worse into 2022. Some people say, well, these bottlenecks will clear up. These supply chain bottlenecks will clear up, and they'll say inflation is transitory. You know, these supply chain bottlenecks will clear up, and everything will fix itself, and everything will just adapt to the increase, the skyrocketing increase in demand. And you won't have labor shortages at the docks. You won't have labor shortages in trucking. And you won't have cargo ships chasing, I don't blame them, profit from redirecting whatever they're doing towards the Pacific and towards California. And you have hundreds of ships outside of China waiting to dock. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse because you have these supply chain issues, and there is another article below that talks about retail chains that cannot forecast revenue or profit because they don't know when they're going to get their inventory. Do you think that AOC or Bernie Sanders or Paul Krugman or Robert Reich or anyone in Hollywood Twitter, do you think any of these people are talking about the hundreds of cargo and container ships docked outside of ports in China and the U.S., waiting to unload, but can't unload because of a shortage of workers in docks and a shortage of truck drivers and a supply chain that is breaking down and barely functioning? Do you think that they're talking? Do you think the socialists or communists, pundits on YouTube and elsewhere are talking about this? I can assure you they're not. And they're not talking about this because there's no way to preach and pontificate about this dire situation without pointing a finger at Biden. This is the direct result of experts and a consensus of experts, which was fabricated to begin with on many issues, leading us down the road towards Armageddon. This is a serious issue. If global trade is halted because there's a backlog of container and cargo ships outside of ports, you will feel the immediate impact of inflation, of rising prices, and potentially or likely of many businesses either going under or barely struggling to survive. 30 to 50% of businesses around the country cannot pay their rent. You have an eviction moratorium that's ending not just for people living with their families. And that's terrible enough. You know who caused all of this? The wonderful, morally superior Democratic Party and media that said we can't open up, we can't open up, we can't open up. No, it's too soon, it's too soon, it's too soon. And so everyone on the planet congregated in Costco and supermarkets, and we don't have to get into the mindless, irrational, paranoid, inept, failed response to so many things. Okay, they did, the countries that had the most and cities that had the most draconian policies had the worst outcomes. The Wall Street Journal talked about this, and the numbers show it. Sweden did better than all of Europe and the United States. And the only rebuttal is, but they didn't do better than Finland. They didn't do better than Norway. Yeah, okay, great. So two countries, you could say, Finland and Norway have half the population of Sweden. And Sweden did better than Germany, the UK, France, Spain, Italy, the US, Canada. And so we can go on forever. The problem, ladies and gentlemen, the original sin is tanking the economy when we had record low unemployment in January, close to record low unemployment. We had wages increasing and we had jobs that were beating estimates. We went from a great economy to 22 million jobs lost within a matter of months because of paranoia and hysteria. And exactly, Grogan's the apoplectic pontificators. You now have a housing bubble, you now have a bond market bubble, and you sure as you know what have an equities and stock market bubble. You've pumped $10 trillion into the economy to no avail. It hasn't worked. The economy, they say, is booming. This is not true. It's allowed to function. It was allowed to function towards the middle of this year. Wow, big deal. Oh, gee, thanks. You mean you've allowed us to actually live like human beings? Oh my God, that's amazing. Cancer and heart disease ended the lives of more people. Thanks for mitigating that. Thanks for downplaying that. You didn't ban McDonald's, did you, Democrats? You didn't ban smoking. You didn't ban alcohol. Why don't you try prohibition? See if it works. Once again. So you have a situation where we are trying to rebound and it's not working. The stock market, however, didn't get the memo. The stock market and the derivatives trades that are in the hundreds of billions and all the money borrowed, the greatest amount of debt, in the history of our country. The greatest amount of debt in the history of our country. Okay? Is right now. We have the greatest amount of national debt that's surpassed GDP. We have the greatest amount of margin debt in the stock market. And do you think AOC or Bernie Sanders or any progressive or anyone in Congress on the left is talking about this? Maybe Joe Manchin, but he's not really on the left. You cannot bankrupt the country because your response is, well, you have money for defense. Yeah, AOC votes alongside the Lincoln Project. She has no right to talk about defense budgets or war or anything like that. It was Trump who single-handedly reversed U.S. foreign policy, not Bernie Sanders or AOC or anyone else. The Doha Agreement was a reversal of 20 years of failed foreign policy because of people like Biden. And the brave men and women, and God bless you. If you know what? We owe a debt of gratitude to the veterans of this country that we could never repay. In Iraq and Afghanistan, Vietnam, all the veterans, Korea, all the veterans of this country, we owe a debt of gratitude we can never repay. And you deserve better than the imbeciles we have in Washington. But we have these imbeciles. Look how they're treating Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller. Look how they're treating him. Mad Marxist Judas, hello. Look how they're treating Lieutenant Colonel Stuart Scheller. Look how they treat General Milley for usurping the chain of command, and he was very offended by that. I didn't do that. Yes, you did. You didn't tell Trump what you were doing. You didn't tell Trump what you were doing. So you did usurp. You did circumvent the chain of command. Okay. And every person that is utilized by the establishment to go after Trump, whether it's Milley or whether it's Michael Avenatti or whether it's Andrew Cuomo or whether it's Eric Schneiderman, the former Attorney General of New York, or whether it's Jussie Smollett, anybody, it never works out. It never works out. You have no right, if you are Milley or anyone else, to circumvent the chain of command and just go ahead and call up other generals. What did he say? I know I am certain that President Trump did not intend to attack the Chinese, and it is my direct responsibility to convey that intent to the Chinese. No, he's not. You think that China... Does Milley actually think that China was worried about a nuclear attack from Trump? I mean, is he, like, I want to be as respectful as possible. He's acting like an imbecile. Obviously, he's extremely intelligent, General Milley. Obviously, he didn't become chairman of the Joint Chiefs because he's not intelligent. He obviously, though, lacks wisdom. And Stuart Scheller is 100% right about Milley and all of these people. This is the same man who's reading a book on social issues like he cares at all. He was just trying to pander to DC. Everyone knows this. Okay? Everyone knows this. But this is the difference between Schwarzkopf and Patton and Eisenhower and MacArthur and a person like Milley. Do you think that Patton would read a book on social issues and try to, embrace the rear end of DC? If anything, Patton and MacArthur got into, they didn't usurp the chain of command, but they were so aggressive, or they were so interested in victory and winning, that there was tension between the president and them and the president. They're presidents. So, FDR and Truman. But anyway, the point is that the difference in leadership's unbelievable. Do you think that Curtis LeMay during the Cuban Missile Crisis would call up Khrushchev and say, JFK is not really going to attack you? What is this nonsense? What is this nonsense? This is a complete nonsense. And if they did this with mashed potato brains, who you would actually do, you would actually need to actually inform other countries of what mashed potato brains Biden really thinks. But even then I would be against that because it's just not done. And so the thing is, if you're General Milley and you are leading this country's military, or you're leading the country's, armed forces, the entire world knows that you've sold your soul to the Democratic Party. Congratulations. And the Democrats don't care about you. This is what people like Milley don't understand, and people like Andrew Cuomo or Chris Cuomo, they don't understand this. Democrats are going to use you and spit you out. They're going to extract every ounce of political utility from you and leave you to all the people that you've angered and disappointed. The Democrats don't care. You think that they care about, Mary Trump? You think these people care about Mary Trump? If tomorrow Mary Trump said, I apologize to my uncle, I withdraw every lawsuit, and I'm sorry for everything I've done to my uncle, they would turn on her in 2 seconds. I mean, it's like you sell your soul to the Democratic and media establishment. You get nothing for it. What did Milley get for this? But see, again, our country is descending into a downward spiral. Everything we see right now is smoke and mirrors. Now, the Democrats and media say reckoning. We're going to have a devastating financial crisis because of a cataclysmic stock market crash. The writing's on the wall. The writing is on the wall. You see it right then. You see it in front of you. I don't know, you see it right in front of you. You see everything right, socially, in terms of economics, in terms of politics. They want to print $1 trillion coin. Here's a little newsflash. Democrats are not excited at all about the infrastructure bill. Nobody can explain how the infrastructure bill will put people back to work because a very small percentage of the labor force works in construction. We have a service economy, and you've destroyed all the restaurants and all the businesses that provide services for a whole year. We still have 10 million jobs that haven't been, we still have employment of over 5%, 8 to 10 million jobs that people unemployed. And we have jobless claims increasing. We have a labor shortage at the docks. We have a trucking shortage. We have a shortage of every industry because you arbitrarily ended American society because you were paranoid and hysterical and wanted to get Trump out of office, and you were wrong on everything you stated. So 2021 was very similar to 2020, although we didn't have the ability to shut down the economy because we already did that, and the results were horrendous. So we have inflation, the consumer price index, the producer price index, the Baltic dry shipping index, the China freight the index, the economic indices regarding the freight from China, all at record highs. We have the greatest margin debt in the history of the country. We have a greater margin debt as a percentage of GDP than 2000 and 2008. We have the national debt that surpassed our gross domestic product. We have a $22 trillion GDP. Our GDP is $22 trillion. Okay, that's the size of our economy. Our debt is $28 trillion. For the first time ever, the debt surpassed GDP. This is the first time ever, actually since World War II. But we have a completely different economy. We would like make things and build things. It's completely different. Okay, and the reason was World War II. It wasn't because you just decided that we had to tank the economy. It was because of an actual, global, war and crisis. So the experts, of course, the consensus of experts was dreadfully wrong. So this is the way that media and Democrats, what they do. The consensus of experts told us to engage in the most irrational, hysterical response to things. David, hello. There was a consensus of experts that caused hundreds of cargo ships to be docked outside of ports. Okay? And from now on, we have to ask ourselves, there are now 242, according to FreightWavesNews.com. FreightWaves.com. Do you think that AOC or Bernie Sanders reads FreightWaves? Okay, one of the shipping publications, global shipping public and trade publications? No, they don't, because it actually has to do with economics. And it actually has to do with the consequences of repercussions of failed policies promoted by expert consensus. It was a choice to shut down life and the economy. It was a choice. When people say, well, it was that made us do it. No. We're still reeling from what? No. You're reeling from your apoplectic, hysterical, paranoid reaction to something that is third behind heart disease and cancer. You want to know, where are the studies done of how many people didn't get checkups and didn't know that, God forbid, they have cancer or heart disease? You've upended all of American life and the lives around the world. And if you just did what Sweden did, you would be in a million times better shape. It's almost by design that we tanked the entire global economy. But again, it's like you look at this situation and you ask, well, how did we get here? Don't blame a microscopic organism for how we got here. Okay? Now you have the most Democrats and Biden and media are focused on everything but economic growth. They think that, and then you have like Wall Street, like, oh yeah, all of these things will clear up. How do you know? When will you get enough truckers, and when will you get enough dock workers, and when will you? How long will it take for hundreds of ships docked outside of ports throughout the world and throughout the U.S.? How long will it take for all of this backlog to clear up? California ports aren't the only ones. Here's an article, Business Insider. You have ports in New Jersey, New York, Texas, and Georgia seeing record pileups. How on earth is this going to be good for the economy? How do you rebound when you have shipping that is you have shipping now, the lifeblood of global trade, experiencing major backlogs. And they think it's okay because, again, like I keep saying, everything is in relation to Trump. So no matter what happens, there will be a stock market crash, another financial crisis. There's an oil spill outside of Southern California now. I mean, it's like, unfortunately, it's only going to get worse because you have Democrats and Biden. Mashed potato brains has zero vision. He doesn't have any vision for the country. He doesn't have any vision for the country. What does he want? Where does he want America to be in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? What's Biden's foreign policy? You won't be able to, you know what his foreign policy is? Not Trump. You want to know what his economic policy is? Not Trump. You want to know what he thinks about social issues? Not Trump. He doesn't, they put a warm body with a beating heart, and, it didn't matter if Mashed Potato Brains slurred his speech or, went on bizarre tangents or abruptly whispered. They're even saying that his whisper speaks volumes. It's the biggest propaganda spin you've ever seen in your life. Things that are not normal, they have tried to turn into, they tried to normalize. Trump's personality, all of these people who were saying that Trump is not normal, they were watching The Apprentice. They didn't mind his personality when he wasn't in politics. They focus on his personality only because he's an actual leader that they needed to resist. Nobody resists Mashed Potato Brains. Nobody resists Mashed Potato Brains because he's not a leader. His own budget is not even accepted by Democrats. You have Manchin, Sinema, you have other Democrats too who know that it's they can't even explain what the infrastructure bill, like how it would benefit society. They can't explain that. So, but it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. You have a situation where they can't explain or communicate how the infrastructure bill is going to help society. They'll point to social programs, but they won't point to how it will generate wealth. They're not interested in generating wealth. They're not interested in actually bringing people out of poverty. None of the programs will bring people out of poverty. They might help people who are already poor. They might help, they might provide government services, but they're not interested in generating wealth or bringing businesses to communities that have a high poverty level. You haven't heard it, and then they have the audacity. This is where the narcissism comes in. They're like, well, Republicans are going to bankrupt this country by not accepting our bill. It's like, why would just because your bill is $3.5 trillion and you demand that Republicans accept it, Manchin and Sinema aren't even accepting it. So why don't you look in the mirror? And then it's like, they don't have to accept it. It wouldn't be their fault if the country defaulted on the debt. It's the responsibility of Democrats to either lower the price tag or negotiate with Republicans, not the other way around. You can't just force the party that doesn't even have the votes. Well, they have the votes to block it, but you can't just force the party that's not in power to accept all your demands. That's not how politics works. And you know just as well as Republicans that if you don't do something, like you're in leadership now. You have the House, the Senate, and the presidency. If you don't try to negotiate a deal, it won't be the Republicans' fault. It'll be your fault because you want your cake and eat it too. You want everything. And there's no legislative mandate for this. Nobody ever woke up 2 years ago and said, we need an infrastructure bill. None of these people thought that way. None of these people thought that way. So you have all of these problems, and this is the thing. When what goes down, the issue is that they will be completely clueless. They will be completely and utterly clueless. What do you think he's going to do? What do you think Mashed Potato Brains is going to do? What do you think he's going to do when Heavenly Sunshine? Yes. It's a great name. Thank you so much for starting it off. 3.5 trillion is several times more than the entire value of all our goods and services. Exactly. It's about the national. It's our usual budget in addition to everything else they want. So we have close to a $4 trillion budget normally. And so we'll have a $2 trillion deficit, close to $2 trillion. Heavenly Sunshine, thank you. Thank you very, very much. Thank you so very, very much. Heavenly Sunshine, thank you. Greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciate. Heavenly Sunshine, thank you so very much. Thank you. I agree with you. But see, again, they don't you have to understand, Heavenly Sunshine, everyone here, David, JG, Eric, Luke, everyone here. These economic discussions are a foreign concept to Democrats, especially Bernie Sanders and Democratic Socialists. They don't care about global shipping. It's not, if you can't tweet about it, they can't tweet about hundreds of cargo and container ships docked outside of ports and how this will negatively impact the working class, because there's no way to pontificate about it without pointing a finger at themselves and Biden and experts. You have so many people on the left just listen to anything. They know more than you anyway. They studied this thing, The experts were wrong about WMD. The experts were wrong about tanking the economy. The experts were wrong about Clinton winning a landslide. The experts are usually wrong. When media is yelling at the top, when they're yelling at the top of their lungs, they're usually wrong. They're usually wrong. Heavenly Sunshine, thank you. When media is yelling at the top of their lungs, they're usually wrong. And then you get, when they're wrong, well, there was an expert consensus, so what? There was an expert consensus on a lot of things throughout history. We look back and say, my God. There was a tulip craze in Holland in the 1600s. The experts said tulips were worth your entire life's fortune. And then people, it actually took a generation, they say, for the economy to rebound when the tulip crash ended. So, experts, okay, this is something that Democrats and morally superior liberals don't get. You cannot say there's an expert consensus while at the same time marginalizing, intimidating, silencing, and suppressing any opposition. There are experts. What they'll do is they'll say 2,000 people, 2,000 experts in this industry have signed on to what Democrats have said and have condemned the Republicans. 2,000. You could find 2,000 conservative experts on any topic. It's not difficult. You could find 2,000 conservative experts on any topic who would condemn Biden tomorrow. What would happen is those people would then be vilified, demonized, ostracized, and disparaged immediately. There's a public relations machine that Democrats and liberal pundits have that conservatives don't have. Conservative media, I can tell you, there's a bunch of good publications, but they don't speak with one voice at all. Like, the National Review is very different from the Daily Caller or the Federalist. And I think the Federalist is fantastic. Then the conservative media does not speak with one voice, which is good, but it's also not so good when you have everyone getting the memo. Steele dossier, Trump Russia, Trump Zelensky, tax returns, Clinton winning in a landslide. They will any economic decision from experts. You're wrong, Dr. Rand, Senator Rand. All of media will speak with one voice. Conservative media, they'll speak in many, they'll have different viewpoints, which is good. But at the same time, there's no, you'll have conservatives who don't like Trump. You have conservatives that don't like Trump. And, you'll have, conservatives who do like Trump. So it's then you have conservative journalists or editors that don't want to offend the mainstream, but they want to report on bias in the mainstream, but they don't want to go too far to offend the mainstream. So it's interesting. Like the Wall Street Journal, you would think is more conservative, but yes and no, not really. There may be actually the Wall Street Journal is pretty good. But the National Review is you can look at all these publications. Climb BMX! Thank you, Climb BMX. Thank you so very, very much. Malali, too, thank you. John, thank you. Climb BMX, thank you so very, very much. Colonel Angus, hello, yes. Thank you, Climb BMX. Thank you so very much. Climb BMX, Heavenly Sunshine, thank you. Climb BMX, Heavenly Sunshine, thank you so very, very much. I hope all is well. Climb BMX, thank you. You have a machine. CNN, MSNBC, The Washington Post, The New York Times, Daily Beast, BuzzFeed, Vice, Mother Jones, The Nation, The New Yorker, New York Magazine, Esquire, Vanity Fair, Rolling Stone. Did I say Rolling Stone? They are all saying, every YouTube pundit on the left, almost everyone on the establishment left with 1 million subs plus, they are all saying the same thing. They don't deviate even, and it permeates into the communists and socialist thought. They're all saying the same thing. Trump is corrupt. He's prejudiced. He's worked with Russia. We should trust all the experts. And if you don't trust the experts, you're not to believe. Any expert or scientist or economist or foreign policy analyst or intelligence community person that is just evaluating anyone who is outside of the prevailing thought sanctioned by DC is a really bad person, is horrible, and doesn't know what's going on, and they're making things up. So that's why you have the New York Post is fantastic. Actually, the New York Post is the best conservative publication. They're the best, the largest and the best. New York Post is awesome. They reported on a story that everyone should have reported on. The thing with media is that they've circled the wagons against Democrats because they know Trump can win. Trump won in 2016. They are never going to allow that to happen again. They don't ever want that. They don't ever want that to happen again. Climb BMX, thank you so very, very much. They don't ever want Trump to win again. Waco Keiko! The whole idea of minting a $1 trillion coin is not all distinct from printing $1 billion bills on a whim and is absurd. It's just... No, I agree with you. It's pretty much the same concept, although the coin is even nuttier because you're assigning immediately an amount to it. But yeah, it's the same kind. We've put $10 trillion into the economy. And that has created this situation where you have an inflated stock market with an all-time high in margin debt that's going to implode once Wall Street realizes that the valuations don't reflect the economic reality at all. At all. Everything is... Prices are expensive in addition to valuations that are overvalued. I mean, the whole thing is about to... The really sad and frightening thing, everybody here, Waco Keiko, Climb BMX, Heavenly Sunshine, everybody here, the really scary and frightening thing is the following. Is the country prepared for another crisis, like a major crisis? And it's a crisis they're not going to be able to utilize against Trump or Republicans because it's a crisis of their own making. When the economy tanks, is there anything to be said about Thomas replacing Roberts? Roger Rabbit. I don't know. I don't know if. Let's see. That would be awesome. But I don't know if that's going to happen or if it's possible. I'm not sure how that would work. Roger Rabbit, thank you. I'm not sure how that would work. Thank you so very, very much. Roger Rabbit, you know what? We may get a conservative Chief Justice. If Roberts joins the Liberals, Thomas gets to assign the opinion. This is a Wall Street Journal article. So, John Roberts made the most horrendous decisions the past year. I don't know how that would work. That would be awesome, though. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Roger Rabbit, thank you so very, very much. Thank you, Roger Rabbit. I wish I could give you a better answer. But you have problems, economic problems in China that we're just, the average American's just barely hearing about. They have a debt crisis there that's even worse than our debt crisis. They have the same problems in China that we do here, but more so. They have 240 plus ships that are outside their docks. Okay? We have 60, 70 outside Long Beach and a whole bunch of ships outside eastern and southern ports as well. But I mean, the whole thing, the stock market is going to crash primarily because Wall Street is trading on free money. They've been given interest rates are at zero. The bond market is, when interest rates go up a little bit, bonds will tank. The prices of bonds will descend very rapidly. Housing prices have increased, a great deal within a short time And now you have lumber and building costs skyrocketing. But you have the average American that the stimulus checks aren't going to be, they're going to stop. The stimulus is going to stop. The economy is not ready ready for stimulus payments, for an end to stimulus payments. We've been propping up our economy because we arbitrarily shut everything down because expert consensus told us to. You know, expert consensus is meaningless and a worthless phrase, and it's such a deceitful, conniving way of saying, well, we had no other choice. But you always had a choice. Every decision in life and every decision in politics, there are choices. Democrats and media chose a course of action that ended in economic devastation. And because of their choices, because of what the policies that they pushed, it's so disingenuous. It's like the height of insanity to say, well, that was Trump. It's like, no, Trump wanted to open up the economy very quickly, and he should never have even... Exactly, John Kelly, exactly. He should never have even accommodated Democrats. He should never have even went along with Democrats and media. He was vilified no matter what. So he should never have said, okay, if you want to like shut down the economy for a month, 2 months. No, he should never, ever, ever have done that. He should never have done that. He should never have done that. So, you know, they pushed Democrats, and you can look at articles. Here, let's look at these articles. They're endless. President Trump wants to reopen the economy despite government warnings. Reopening economy too early could backfire for humans, investors say. They find one investor or one, expert or scientist or whatever that agrees with them. Trump opens up economy too soon. He owns it. The White House's push to reopen the economy this early. This is all throughout 2020. Reopening the economy may be unrealistic. The administration pushes to reopen the economy. Trump vows to even as lives lost. He wanted to reopen as quickly as possible. Now, he should never have given them the initial victory. You give media and Democrats an inch, they'll take 20,000 miles. So, this is a direct look. When the stock market crashes, and the stock market will crash, unfortunately, subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. It's not something I'll gleefully, there's nothing to celebrate about. And after that, I'll start the imminent nuclear war channel. Okay? Because there's no end to the madness and the failures of Biden's presidency. The next step is a nuclear confrontation. That's the next step. And amid all of this, they want to sign a nuclear deal, which is hilarious. What else could go wrong? Which wouldn't keep the world safer. It would actually make things more volatile. But anyway, if you're negotiating with bumbling Blinken, who do you think gets the better of the negotiation? Okay? Bumbling Blinken, our Secretary of State, looks like he's... when he looks like he's seen a ghost... You know the movie Hellraiser? It looks like he wakes up to the Hellraiser monster every day. They all look like frightened, like a deer in the headlights. Everything's fine. This is the thing. The reason they're in office and power is because they're not Trump. It's not because of their policies or their ideology or who they are, what they've accomplished. It's called not Trump. Their foreign policy is not Trump. Their economic policy is not Trump. Their social policies are not Trump. The infrastructure budget is not Trump. That's all it is, not Trump. They don't care about anything else but not being Trump. That's the only thing they care about. The only thing they care about is not being Trump. It's like a football team that is 0-20, but because they're not the rival football team, they feel good about themselves. Well, at least we're not our cross-city rivals. Yeah, but you're 0-20 and you lost 100-0 against them. Yeah, but we're not them. Yeah, but you keep losing. You don't understand? You don't want to win ever? No, we don't care whether we win or we lose. We're just not our opposition. Yeah, I get that. When will you move beyond not being your opposition? They don't care. That's why in sports, there's at the end of the game, you can see who wins and who loses. With politics and with Democrats, they can keep losing, but 2,000 experts have signed a letter saying they oppose Trump. They oppose, DeSantis. What about the 2,000 conservative experts? That never existed. There was never any 2,000 experts, who are conservative. They don't even exist. What are you talking about? Are you on some kind of hallucinogen? Yeah, you couldn't find two. This is why also the Republicans, they never do this. They never do this. How difficult, Trump should do this. How difficult is it to find conservative experts or, scholars or academics? See, what happens is you have immediate repercussions. So they're intimidated. That's one thing. J-Spot51, give them an inch, they'll take the whole, your country. Exactly. Colleen Welch, hello, Colleen, hello. Thank you, J-Spot, Colleen, thank you. How hard is it to find 2,000 conservative experts on any topic? Okay, you could definitely find a lot of doctors who are conservative. A lot of Wall Street people who are conservative. You could definitely find Trump supporters everywhere. There's 73 million. You don't think that there are any experts or academics in 73 million? Like, Democrats don't actually. If you ask a Democrat, well, half the country. Well, less than. Well, we got more. Well, yeah, you have almost 100% favorable media coverage and a whole bunch of nonsense and fantasies. All of these. And I'll do a Kash Patel Durham Probe segment in about an hour and a half or so. We'll end in about 15 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. You can't find 2,000 Trump-supporting experts? Is this impossible? How hard is that to do? They keep on doing it. We found a letter. And then you have BuzzFeed, or who was it? I forgot who it was. I think it was BuzzFeed. They go after your they go after your college, people who knew you in college. Oh my God, they'll never do that with Hunter Biden. But you better believe with Madison Cawthorn, I'm like, yeah, we interviewed 50 people. If you knew 50 or 60 people in college, would they even remember? Like, most of them even remember you? Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. If we interviewed 50, 60 people that Madison Cawthorn went to college with. It's like, okay, let's just say everything is true. Who told you to investigate this? Like, this goes through editors. So, the editor said, gosh, you think the editors at BuzzFeed said, we can actually do a story on Hunter Biden and the Politico story about him leaving a firearm in a dumpster outside of a school. Or we can go and try to find people who knew a Madison Cawthorn 10 years ago and talk about gossip and hearsay about him. Yeah, we're not going to do the Hunter Biden story. Let's do that story. Like, where are these, these these pieces are all hit pieces against conservatives. You never get that type of hit. Eric Swalwell, I trust him 100%. He said that he never, actually he didn't deny a relationship, but he said that, he never gave any classified data to an operative of another country who was having relations with other Democratic politicians and possibly also Congressman Swalwell. Although I trust Congressman Swalwell, I don't think that he would ever do that. Not saying that he would, but apparently this operative was involved in fundraising. And okay, so do you think there's any investigative journalism on that? No way. What are you talking about? No way. Of course there isn't. Exactly. Of course there isn't. But I mean, it's like, that's the way, this is the height of, media has circled the wagon since 2017. They said, we're never letting Trump win again. We tried to derail him in 2016. It didn't work. We're now going into Pravda, propaganda, Orwellian 1984, George Orwell, public relations mode. Everything is geared towards stopping Trump, and we will never let him win again, ever. And if that means reporting on gossip and hearsay in books, whether they could be true or not true, we will treat it as if it's a fact. And any possible corruption or criminal activity, like Milley usurping the chain of command, well, that's viewed as, well, he had to because Trump was so deranged. Anytime they're caught with their hand in the cookie jar with their pants down, oh my goodness, I know how that feels. Anytime they're caught with their pants down, which everybody from Anthony Weiner to Bill Clinton to Andrew Cuomo, all of these people know how that feels. All these wonderful, morally superior Democrats. This is how a morally superior liberal, this is how they go through the day. And they want to ban everything they don't like and, force things upon everybody and make them feel good and safe. This is how they go through the day because they feel that their ideology has replaced God. They don't believe in God, so they worship their political ideology. This is why they disown friends. But this is how they go through every day. I'm moral, I'm righteous. I'm on the side of justice and goodness. No, about Libya and President Obama destroying the country. No. We're not talking about that now. I'm on the side of goodness and, oh, you mean the crime bill with Biden? That was a long time ago, man. Come on, man. Righteous and moral. Indignation. That's how they go through. Looking into the yonder. They're morally superior. They're so just. They just want what's right for the country, but the Republicans won't let them. They won't let them do what's right because the Republicans want to bankrupt this nation. What about the 1,000 Americans left in Afghanistan? We notified them 19 times, and if they want an extended vacation, if they want their head removed from their body, it's their fault. Every failure. Experts' consensus. Do you know more than the experts? Yeah, I do. Yeah, so do you. It doesn't, if a geologist told you to jump off a cliff, you wouldn't do so because he knows more about rock formations. You would say, this person's nuts. But Democrats don't know. Expert consensus. Where are your experts? Huh? And Trump voting toothless, fat, toothless, ignorant, not even experts, not even educated Trumpers. That's who you are. Prejudiced, toothless non-experts. Our experts are very good, and they keep us safe. You've had the worst outcomes up until recently, and that had nothing, whatever. You gave Andrew Cuomo an Emmy for putting infected people in elderly care facilities. The freak, thank you. Lisa Parkett, thank you. The Freak, thank you so very much. Sorry, I got no notice. Can you reset me and tell me how you're saying 100% presidential hearings can be just... Because in 2022, I should have specified this. In 2022, Biden will be impeached. In 2022. It's 100% in 2022. Not before then, because we don't have the House. But the containers and cargo ships are a symptom of a very, very, of an economy that's about to, of a dire economic situation about to lead to a stock market crash, which will eventually lead to a financial crisis yet again, which Biden can't and Democrats won't be able to evade. The whole planet, anyone watching, the entire country will blame Biden and Democrats for the upcoming financial catastrophe, which will be a stock market crash. We will have either a stock market crash from profits dwindling because of the container ships and the supply chain shortages being docked outside of ports without being able to, unload their shipment of goods for retailers. We will have a stock market crash because we have the greatest amount of margin debt in the history of the country. We have hundreds of billions of dollars in derivative trades that could very likely lead to another stock market crash and then a financial crisis, bank bailouts, hedge funds going under. So that's what I mean by that. I do appreciate. So you have enough to impeach the man. You have more than enough to impeach the man. So this container ship issue, this cargo and container crisis is a huge it's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. When you have a shortage of dock workers, okay? When you have a shortage of dock workers, these are hard-working people on the docks, okay? You cannot just simply replace a dock worker. Okay, the way like liberal Democrats think is like, well, they're all for the working class, but they actually secretly, like the socialists and the communists and the wonderful morally superior liberals, they actually kind of like, not all of them, but some of them like look down upon dock workers. But the dock workers are they actually, when you buy something, when you put food on the table, they're the dock workers are the people who enable you to live your life as an American. Okay, we like to buy things, and we're a consumer-driven society, and you don't have things to buy without 40% of the goods coming into America going through Southern California. We have a shortage of workers at the docks. A shortage, okay? Now, who knows how many workers at these docks were either retired or were let go because of the shutdown of the economy, and who knows that they might have moved from Southern California, okay. Or they might have started, in a different occupation. Well, now you have a shortage of dock workers. Now you have a shortage of truckers. Thanks, Democrats. Thanks, expert consensus. Maybe we can get Jerry Nadler and, the wonderful socialists and communists to help out. Who knows? But see, again, you're not going to get any of this. They'll talk about the working class, but the people who work the hardest, they'll ignore. That's the way the establishment works. That's the way the establishment works. And like, hold on one second. Well, let's put it this way. There's very likely more truth in the Bible or any holy book than within the intelligence community from James Clapper and Brennan. If you've replaced God, if you are an atheist and you think that you're rational because you've replaced God with James Clapper or James Comey or the intelligence community or Bob Woodward's book, then at least you're missing out on all the good things, that come with spirituality and religion. I mean, there are bad things. Of course there are bad things. But there are worse things if you're not an actual true atheist. If you're an atheist and agnostic and you're truly an atheist and agnostic, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually liberating in many ways. But if you're an atheist or agnostic that replaces reason and logic with hearsay and gossip because you think that Trump worked with Russia, well, that's a problem. That's a problem. You can't be an atheist and worship the intelligence community. This is like you're actually replacing worship of God with a worship of you-know-who down below. You can't be agnostic or an atheist and suspend logic and reason. Because if you're an atheist, your whole life is, I'm so much more logical than you. Well then, why do you believe that Trump worked with Russia? Because James Clapper told me. But James Clapper said there was no evidence. Yeah, but we might have evidence someplace. You might as well just believe in the Bible. Or just, at least you're going to get some spiritual sustenance from it. Or, any holy book. I'm not advocating anyone believe in a religion. I'm not even advocating against atheism. What I'm saying is there are people on the left who claim to be rational when they're when they act in the most irrational manner. The height of irrationality is saying that all Trump supporters and Trump are prejudiced, mean, horrible, bad people. This is propaganda that you've consumed. You've replaced religious dogma with state propaganda. So you've done yourself no good. But if it makes you feel good, that's fine. God isn't real, but James Clapper, but the intelligence community is real, is genuine. Norman Smith, for every human condition, there is a spiritual solution. Norman, thank you. Spirituality, I think, is missing in our country. I think the spirituality is missing, and that's why you have. Yes. You know what'll get us to where we need to be in terms of logic? Watching Chris Cuomo at CNN. Watching Andrew Cuomo get an Emmy. This is the height of rationality. Let's see. Trump worked with Russia because of a Steele dossier. Andrew Cuomo got an Emmy. Michael Avenatti, they wanted him to run for president. Trump, at any moment, you just wait, any moment Trump will be indicted and charged. Any moment, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Just like so you've replaced the end of the world religious doctrine with any moment Trump's going to be indicted. When logical atheist and logical rational Democrat, when will he be indicted? You just wait. Any moment Trump will be indicted and charged. When? Give me a time. When? Will you just wait? It's going to happen. Well, actually, the Durham probe is now going to start indicting people more than just the two attorneys. So, Norman Smith, thank you so very, very much. You just wait. One of these days, Trump is going to be charged with working alongside Russian operatives. And you just, in his tax returns and Trump's tax returns, they show that he worked with Russia. Yeah. They show that Trump worked with Russia and he pressured Zelensky. And he was part of January. Because when Trump speaks, he speaks and then his words go into a homing beacon among all the Trumpers. It's going to happen one day. Not. You just wait. One of these days, Trump will be indicted and charged. It's going to happen. Trump is not ever going to be indicted or charged. Ever. Okay? God is more genuine and real in the lives of billions of people than Trump working with Russia or being indicted or charged. That's never, ever, ever going to happen, ever. But we will have a stock market crash, thanks to Democrats tanking the world as we know it. It's good. It's fine to be an atheist and agnostic, just fine. It's actually the smartest, most intelligent people that I know are agnostic. But if you're an atheist and you think that James Clapper or James Comey weren't political operatives, then you're a gullible. You're a worshiper. You're a gullible worshiper of state propaganda. You've replaced religious doctrine and dogma with state propaganda. Okay? So, at least let's put it this way. There are far more good things that come from religion, far more good things that come from tradition and religion than state propaganda. Nothing good comes from state propaganda. But there's a lot of good things that come from religion. There are bad things too. There are bad things that come from atheism too. But I don't want to speak like, okay, this is not my style. I'm not favoring any religion at all. But we're in a spiritual crisis in the country. We have a spiritual crisis. That's why you have so many people and so many young people feeling so alone. And it has nothing to do with religion. It's a spiritual crisis. We have given our souls to, you and I haven't, but so many people have given their spirits to social media, the internet, and because of that, they care so much what people think of them. Okay? The great thing about punk rock is that the Ramones and the Pistols, they didn't care what people thought of them. All of these bands, rock and roll used to be like, oh yeah, like they didn't care what people. Now the spiritual crisis can be seen from that one band. I'm sorry, our banjo player said something nice about a conservative and the harm we've caused everybody because of what he said. We've now banished him to Siberia and we've encased his banjo in a block of ice. So he'll never be able, he can scratch and claw, but it's frozen. He'll never get that banjo again. It's in a gigantic block of ice. And we've shipped him to Siberia. And I just want to let everybody know, everybody who loves our band around the world, that we've disowned our banjo player for being the blasphemer he is. We've excommunicated the banjo player. He'll never perform for us again. But please, buy tickets to our new tour, Rockin' the Free World and Not Caring What People Think of Us and Upending the System. Yeah, it's on sale. It's on sale at our website. Please, the tickets are on sale. Please purchase them. We've gone from like AC/DC and punk, like heavy metal. Like, we've gone from like all the great rappers and all the great rock bands and punk bands, and we've gone from we've gone from Motorhead and Lemmy and the Ramones and like all these great bands to the banjo player. I mean, we're going to where in a handbasket. We're already there. So, we're already there. You have a situation where everything. Could you imagine the new Bond? They're going to replace Daniel Craig. I mean, the new Bond's going to be the most worthless, pathetic, depressing person you've ever seen. I'm sure that he's going to. The new James Bond is going. You might as well. You know what'll be actually more action-packed and more uplifting? Taking a 2x4 and bashing your head with it. It'll probably be more fun than watching the new James Bond. Who knows what they're gonna? It's gonna be James Bond's gonna cry. Sorry for what I did to everybody while I was saving the world. Bond, what kind of drink do you want? Just water. Give me water. Shaken water. Anything. I'm going to drive my Tesla because of the carbon emissions. He's driving like a Prius. He's drinking water, driving a Prius. The worst thing ever. What an embarrassment. They've ruined everything, do you understand? They've ruined everything. Nothing is sacred. There's nothing sacred. They've ruined everything. The new James Bond will no doubt be an abomination. He'll drive a Tesla, drink water. What else? We don't want to get into everything. Everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, they've simply ruined everything. And Ghost Dog. And they've simply there's no end in sight. How can you have an action movie now how can you have that? You're not going to have any real action movies anymore. Everything's going to be seen through the lens of microaggressions, so nothing's going to be amazing anymore. It's just going to be so weird. But notice that there are just notice something really quickly. Notice something really quickly. Not that I'm really there are no remakes there are no remakes of movies like The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood. Why is that? or there are just no remakes of these types of films. Why is that? With a different cast. Why is that? Why are all the films that we love now being ruined? But you never have there's no whatever. I've already said too much. The Ministry of Groupthink. I've already said too much. They'll take my banjo away and put it in a giant block of ice. Or what's this? There's no there's no remakes of Thelma and Louise. There's those movies stay, untarnished, but you better believe Bond will be driving a Prius and drinking bottled water. Can I have my water with ice cubes? Shaken, not stirred. Just water. No. Don't want to drink. And Lord knows what's going to happen with the romance scenes. Lord knows. Who knows? It'll be a lonely Bond. Lonely, unhappy Bond. What's your name? Bond, James Bond. But you know what? I don't want to bother you. I'm just going to walk alone by myself with my bottle of water. Okay, bye. Everything's just going to be horrible. Roger Rabbit. Roger, I love you, Roger Rabbit. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to remove the Roger Rabbit. You're the best. I love you. You know I love you. And I even got to do it sometimes with moderators also. But Roger Rabbit, I love. That is funny though. That is funny. That. But I apologize, Roger Rabbit. I apologize. Yeah, they don't do that. They don't do that with the Yaya Sisterhood. That will stay pristine. You will never see any deleted scene on that. They delete scenes from Star Wars, E.T. You will not get a deleted scene from the Yaya Sisterhood. That ain't gonna happen. But ladies and gentlemen, H526. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Everything is going to be ruined. This is why you stock up on old DVDs and 90s movies. Oh my God, they can never. The American T-Ban on the left can never ruin good old movies. Get all the good old Bond films before they delete every romance scene. Every romance scene. That was the allure of James Bond. You've now broken the franchise, almost certainly. James Bond, the great thing about him was that he lived the life that most men either want to live or wish they could live, or a fantasy of most men. But no, that's, not happening anymore. So it'll all be every movie will be seen through the sensibilities of morally superior leftists. And the interesting thing is, when will Hollywood they're losing money, so at a certain point they might realize that Alice, hello. Bendy! I'm still sticking to the saber. I don't know what that means, but it's very funny. Bendy. Pineapples, yes. Who doesn't like pineapples? Who doesn't like pineapples? Bendy. Let's look really quickly. Okay, so the James Bond. Hold on. Who's going to be the new James Bond? Daniel Craig was great. Idris Elba should be the new James Bond. He would make an amazing James Bond. He would make an amazing James Bond. And Tom Hardy, too. The other list of people... oh my God. Then they want a female James Bond, which would be absolutely fantastic. Very good. I have nothing bad to say about that. Female James Bond. Very good. Very good. Be fantastic. What's the problem? There's no problem at all. It's fantastic. Be fantastic. Let's leave it at that. Okay? Female, you better believe, though, there won't be. Ian, my man! Ian, my man! Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. Please, God, tell me James Bond is not being remade as a woman. It could be. That's what I'm trying to tell you, which would be fine with me, Ian. I'm very happy. No problem. Well, can't they just make a different movie and leave Bond? I know. Ian, I know. Well, but you have to understand, Thelma and Louise will not be remade. This is 100%. You will not get a remake of Thelma and Louise. It will stay pristine and beautiful forever. Bond, they will trample upon. Ian, thank you so very much, as always, Ian. I can't thank you enough, my God. Thank you. TW! Possibly. I wouldn't even really mind that much. I wouldn't mind that at all. What I would mind was... TW, thank you. I love you. I apologize, TW. I love you. Oh, my goodness. We'll get off this. Roger Rabbit, TW. I love you. I love you. Ian, Ben D, thank you. I've said too much already. TW, we've said too much. Thank you so very much. Ian, everybody here. TW, Roger Rabbit, everybody here. The best movies, can I just tell you? The best movies. TW, I apologized. Ian, thank you so very much. I know. Ben D, pineapples, yes. Yes, pineapples, yes. Look, when the financial collapse hits, at least we could say that, I don't know what we could say, but at least we could say that one of the great bands of our generation has banished its banjo player, and all is right with the world. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless Ben, Ian, Moyer. Thank you, everybody. Everybody's got to believe in something. I believe I'll have a beer. And here's one for your Sammy tomorrow. Thank you, Raiders. Yes. Yes. Thank you so very much, B. Thank you so very much. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Raiders are going to win tomorrow. They better win tomorrow. I think they have a way better team than the Chargers, so we'll see. B, thank you so very much. Ian, as always, I can't thank you enough, Ian. Ben D, everybody here. Roger Rabbit TW, thank you so very, very much. JG, as always, thank you. I should remake. I just read that. JG. No, you better believe they're going to leave that alone. Everybody here, Eric and Luke, thank you so very much. God bless you, everybody. I will have a special live stream on Kash Patel and the Durham Probe tonight at 11. So about 11:15. It'll be about 45 minutes. So a quick one, and then I'll have an upload on Kash Patel and the Durham Probe tomorrow morning. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless. To my super chat, God bless. Thank you so very much. Eric and Luke, everybody here. I will be back in an hour and a half. People, be here in an hour and a half. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so very, very much.